When you say niche down, specifically in print, for someone who wanted to do that, how far down should they go? And what's the reason for niching?
Any type of business you should have a diversification. So you should have the ability to do a lot of things, but to really hone in and focus and do well and market yourself specifically on what you do best or what's the highest profit margin for the company or different, whatever that looks like that you want to niche down to. Hey everybody, welcome back to the FIP Printing Pros podcast. I'm your host, Josh Dynison, and with me as always, my co-host, Chris Lockwood.
What's up?
And today we're going to be talking about should you niche it down or offer everything? That's kind of the main topic that we're going to be really going over today. I think it's pretty obvious, like what.
Yes, you do both.
Clearly.
Yeah,
no.
Clearly.
So what I will say onto that, just to start it off, is, I have had to really learn to try. There's different ways you niche down, okay? So like what I've done is I can offer everything, but what you're putting out there is we're trying to be more niched, especially like when you're focusing and spending money on marketing. That's really kind of more what I'm trying to focus on right now.
So let's back up a little bit, and this is for any kind of business out there, or regardless of what you're doing. There's a book. It's called The One Thing, and what it talks about is focus. Focus on the one thing that's important. Get to that one. Whatever niche, however. I don't know. I mean, it's actually pronounced, but whatever.
Yeah.
Some people say it with an accent. Some other people almost don't. But I think a lot of it also depends on where you're at in your business.
Yeah.
I've seen businesses that start and they offer a bunch of stuff and they add a bunch of stuff and then they're doing okay, but then they realize I could do better if I get rid of these other things that while, yes, they're making money, they're not allowing me to focus on what's important, what's core.
Yep.
Right. And then, there's the other side to where people just do one thing and they're really good at it, but they never expand beyond it and they hit a ceiling of what they can do. Or if it's something that's seasonal, they can never expand beyond that one thing.
Yeah. So
their highs are real high, but then their lows are real low.
Yeah.
So this is going to come down to balance. But, you got to know where you're at in your business. You got to have a business plan, whether you're niching down or whether you're offering everything. But when we're talking specifically about the print industry, talk about in the early days, you had told me before you had a problem just accepting every job that came through. Well, let me rephrase that. You didn't have a problem accepting every job that came through, but it caused a problem. So talk about that.
Well, it wasn't my problem. It was the previous owner's problem. They would just take everything in. And even if it didn't make the last podcast we did was talk about profitability. Yeah. Even if it didn't bring profit in, they would just take it in just to stay busy. I don't think like that. I more so, is this job going to make us money? And if not, then I don't want it. And not always, don't get me wrong, like, because there's some, nonprofits and different things like veteran organizations that I help out that we maybe don't either make much money on or at all, just to help them out type of thing. That's a different situation and very rare that happens. But generally speaking, though, in our business, like what we are trying to sell, if it's not going to make me money, if I have to go that low just to get the order, it's not worth it to me. Yeah. I have a threshold of what I'm willing to go down to, and if I have to go down below that, then it's not worth it to me.
Yeah. Yeah, in my business now, and what I'm doing, Medicare and VA are like the big insurances that pay our bills. So that's what we focus on, but occasionally we have to take a regular insurance that, while they still pay, they're just more of a pain in the butt to deal with, and there's more hoops to jump through and all that. So, but
you think the VA is easy?
When it comes to the care we provide, who dictates what care is.
Yeah.
The VA is easier because we dictate what the care is.
Okay.
It's just a pain in the ass to get them to approve.
I was gonna say.
Initially, yeah. So that's a whole another subject. But the point is, we sometimes have to take those other insurances in order to get to the Medicare and the VA that we want. So sometimes you have to say yes to those other jobs that will lead you to the bigger jobs.
Yep.
But that is not saying yes to everything. That's being very specific in when you say yes to, right?
Yep.
So,
well, it's funny you mentioned that. Sometimes you have to accept some of the some of the things you don't necessarily like to do. Like for us, and I think probably every print shop owner is business cards. Like you really don't really make much money off of those. And even though like the margin might be a decent margin on those, you're talking again a $45 order. And the time it took you to talk to my people to even get this order going, I know that's already gone. Yeah. Like basically, but it's like a stepping stone into that relationship with them that hopefully they order more items and things like that. Now we will do business cards all day because like we talked about a couple podcasts ago, business cards are important and how they function in your ability to network and all that kind of stuff and be remembered. But for us, that's an entry level, like almost like type of thing for us to do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a stepping stone. So, and I don't know if there's any out there. Are there any print shops that focus on business cards, or any companies that just focus on business cards? Or
you think about Vistaprint for the longest time. That was their entry level. Like they were
their
pushing,
new ad.
Pushing, yeah.
Their new ad actually says, we do more than just business cards.
Because they originally were that was all they were marketing was business cards. And obviously that got them a lot of people coming to them for that. And they were promoting the $10 business cards this is a while ago. But what a lot of people don't realize is those $10 ones are very flimsy, cheapy paper quality. So basically when you get the actual cards you want, it was actually like $30-$40 or whatever, or more. So their marketing ploy was $10, but nobody wants the $10 ones. So they actually they upsell them. So but that was their niche that they were focusing on their marketing.
They expanded from there. Yeah.
Yep.
So when we talk about niching down, what are the benefits of really focusing on? Okay, so let's back up. Let's define what that means when you niche down, because in the print world, you can offer a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. You got signs, you got banners, you have print, you have business cards, you have digital print, you have apparel, you've got swag, you've got the branded merchandise, those
mailing
kind of
services.
Things. So when you say niche down, specifically in print, for someone who wanted to do that, how far down should they go? And what's the reason for niching down?
Well, I believe in any type of business you should have a diversification. So you should have the ability to do a lot of things, but to really hone in and focus and do well and market yourself specifically on what you do best or what's the highest profit margin for the company or different, whatever that looks like that you want to niche down to. So let's say on the marketing side for us, this podcast right now, like I love just talking to the general business owner and talking about business things, and doing that kind of stuff. But I've been told, by my marketing people that is not what I need to focus on. I need to focus on more of like what relates back to the print field of what I'm doing. Even this topic right now, niching down, we're going to be relating it to print shops, and how that works for us. And obviously we can throw in some other things, that how it relates to as an examples. But I'm supposed to be making sure I'm focusing on relating it back to the print field. And that's because if I'm just, and it's realistic, I love to just talk business in general or real estate or whatever, whatever that looks like, that is a passion of mine. But is that helping me grow? Because obviously this podcast is part of my marketing, and I'm trying to grow eventually what I'm doing. Now, hopefully at some point, I'm doing well enough in the business that this could just be for fun. And we have fun just having conversations.
I love this.
It was kind of funny. Before we even started this podcast, we were just getting into a conversation about real estate, and it felt like we were having a conversation like we do right now. And we're like, oh, we should make this a podcast. But as far as, you have to really try to, especially with marketing, when there's money involved, like doing these podcasts, there's money involved to try to do these podcasts and market them. And if we're going to do ads or anything like that, there's money involved in that. And you want to make that money work for you as best as possible. And for it to work as best as possible, you have to niche it down to what you're trying to ultimately sell, and put out there. And if I just have a podcast that's just FIP printing pros in the background, then, sure, we could talk about any topic, but is anybody really going to be focusing on that screen back there, the name and what my company does? Or are they going to hear me talk about it in the podcast throughout? And that's what they're focusing on. So if I'm not niching down what I'm ultimately trying to do and promote and put out there, that's not going to really help me.
Yeah, because I know, I know that we, FIP partners with, there's some companies that make the giant banners and signs. Like you can drive down the road. There's a graphics thing here in town that they specifically do graphics on cars. You got people that print the signs. You've got the people that do the giveaways, the promo.
Yep.
Right, and that's all they do is the promo. You've got print shops that strictly, if you go to Staples or something like that, they're just copying and printing.
Yep.
Right, they're not doing all the other stuff that goes along with it. Even within that, you have people that just do graphic design. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about niching down, that's where you have to. It's based on capability. It's based on. Sorry, I gotta sneeze. It's based on capability. It's based on profitability. It's based on what the market demands. And so when we're talking about the niching down, the other part of that is can you do it over and over again? Is it repeatable?
Yep.
If you want to leverage different print and promotional products for your company but don't know how to go about doing it, click the link below and let's schedule a free strategy session with me, and I'd love to help you guys out. Look forward to talking with you.
In the shop, what do you have? Is there anything that you were offering that is either wasn't repeatable or it wasn't in high enough demand to keep it as part of what you were doing?
You mean like for a specific customer doing over and over?
Either it might have been a specific customer, or it was just a product that was offered that was like, this just doesn't make sense to continue offering that.
Yeah, so we've kind of done that a couple times. Like we've thrown out ideas of just doing promoting one-off items. We don't promote the one-off items just because we can do them, but it just doesn't make sense for us financially, because like I've said in other podcasts, for us to do one sign is the same. And when I say the ones that we're willing to do it, it's just we don't put it out there.
Yeah.
Anybody that and any of our customers want them, we're going to do it. But doing one sign is just not. Now, again, it depends on the material. If you're talking a max metal sign, then that's more expensive because the material there and all that is more expensive. Whereas just a plastic sign and this size doing one of those is just, it's a lot of work put into it and manpower just to do one little sign,
Yeah.
And so we don't offer that.
Like cutting a 4-inch square out of a 4x8 sheet of material. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
now I can cut you 100 out of that same sheet, and it makes more sense.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so that's what I would say we kind of stick away from. Can we do it? Yes. And will we offer it to people that, again, say the bigger customers, if I'm getting all this over here, I'm going to give you the one here. But if I'm just giving you the one here and I'm not getting anything else, it doesn't make sense for us to really want to do that.
And that's where you can outsource some of that too. When it's like, hey, I've got to make this one door placard, right?
Yeah.
We can make those.
Yeah.
Or I can go to someone who is niched down to where that is their whole business plan, is just to make individualized name placards, for example.
Yep.
So that goes to the capability. So the benefits of niching down, obviously you're going to be much more efficient. You're going to be an expert in that particular thing. So if you were just a print company, you didn't do signs, you didn't do banners, you didn't do merchandise, you just did print, you're going to be the expert in that.
Yep.
And then, you're going to build a reputation in the area for being that. Now, the flip side of that is if you offer full services. If you like FIP offers all of that in one form or another, whether it's outsourced or done in-house, it's a full service option.
Yep.
What are the benefits to being the full service then?
Well, now, so I will give an example of one of my customers. When I did my acquisition of another print shop here locally that was ready to sell, and we acquired them. One of the customers we got from them, that particular print shop was only doing print and I think screen and just apparel. That was really all they did. And then when they came over to me, I started upselling, seeing what other things they do. I had now took that one customer that was doing maybe, let's say in a year with them, couple thousand or so, that in a year. Now they're one of my largest customers, because now he was going to this place for the shirts, he was going to this place for the print, going to this place for the promo, going to this place for so he was going to all these places. And then I told him, we can do all that. And he's like, I love working with you guys. I'd love just to come to one place. And one of the things he was getting, which is he does 3 or 4 of these big orders a year, and it's a good chunk order, it's a $13,000 order 4 times a year. He was going directly to China to get this cheaper. Well, I have China suppliers. If he really wants, to try to get it as cheap as possible, that I can get it, charge him exactly what he was paying, but I get it on wholesale. So I get to, he pays the same amount, but I have the direct relationship with him where I get wholesale price.
And he doesn't have the pain of having to go and do it himself.
He doesn't have to go and do all the contact with him, and which can be a pain and to deal with overseas stuff. And he just comes to us.
Yeah.
And we just handle it for him.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note right here for the other print shops that are watching this and listening, if you are one of those people that have niched down and you just do apparel, there's one of those in town that's their thing is apparel. They do all the printing, the screen printing, the embroidery, all that kind of stuff. They could expand their business without ever having to expand their capabilities.
Yep.
By going to someone like you who has the wholesale side, or you have the ability to fill those gaps.
Yep.
So the same thing that we do, where we're like, hey, I'm not going to make an individual placard, but we'll take the order, we'll process the order, then we'll outsource it.
Yeah.
So, even if you are niched down, if there's a market for it, you can expand your capabilities by going through the wholesaler and those kind of things. So
we actually work with a lot of different print shops now on the wholesale side that they actually didn't want to even expand into it, and I've said, listen, I'll be the expert. Just come to me and I'll help you. So
you take the order, I'll process it, and we'll both make some money.
Yep, exactly.
We'll all be happy.
Yep.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Because if they're not going to come to, because they, especially if it's not here in Ocala, they're not coming to me anyways. They don't know about me.
Yeah.
So if somebody here in Florida down south comes to me that they're bringing customers I would have never even known about, I'll discount that down because I was going to have to pay a salesman anyways if they were going to get that job, some type of commission or his salary or whatever. So yeah, it ends up being a good deal all the way around.
Yeah, it's a win-win. So there are risks to niching down and focusing on one thing. For when you niche down, what are the potential risks or downfall to being specific to just say if you were just specific to print? What are the dangers there?
So if you're niching down, just totally niche down, then you're limiting your growth. You're limiting your revenue potential, money you can make. Also, just honestly, in my opinion, your growth as a person, because if you're just only doing one thing all the time and totally routine and never do anything else, you're never really growing and expanding yourself.
Yeah.
So you're limiting yourself, you're limiting your growth, and limiting, honestly, affecting somebody else's life, because if the more you grow, you can bring on more employees. You're now affecting their life, and you can affect them more than just on the financial standpoint. Hopefully you can affect their life, and just the way you mentor them and different things like that.
Well,
too.
and I would say too, just on the business side of it, if you're that niche down and something happens, now you're in trouble. You got the highs and the lows of people aren't, printing, and you don't have any other supplemental product lines.
Yep.
And you're just relying on print, and you have a couple of bad months in a row waiting for the busy season to pick back up. If you didn't plan for that, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Or God forbid another COVID happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't have other streams of revenue, you're going to be in trouble. Or if AI completely takes over a certain portion of what you're doing, you have to, it helps to have those other things. So,
Exactly. Yep.
Now, when we talk about kind of being the jack of all trades, the I offer everything, where's the downfall in that system?
So with that, now hopefully you're getting enough volume on all the things that you become an expert on all the things. But what could happen is you don't do enough of one thing, or you're doing so many things, you kind of forget how to do everything. Like I'm just saying, like machine wise, like each machine has its different nuances that you have to learn how to run. And if you're bouncing over to here, to there, to there, to there, to there, to do all the different things, sometimes that can get a little confusing and harder to become an expert on that one thing. Whereas if you're niching down and you're only doing this over and over and over and over again, now you're just like, you're becoming the expert. So that's one thing. And then the other thing I would say is that it can just become possibly sometimes chaotic, like even like marketing wise. Let's just say, since we do offer everything, like how do you market it? Do we just do all of it? Like, do you niche it down to one thing this month, next month, this month? Like it brings a little more hardships on the marketing side of it and like what you're putting out there. Whereas if you are just this, then you just promote that. Like it's very easy. So it makes it a little more difficult on the planning side and just different things. But also, in my opinion, one of the biggest things is that you don't get to become the expert as much. Yeah. But where I will say, the more you grow, now you have more employees that more niche down to specific things. So like what I've done is, one of my guys is the sign guy. He knows that corner, that's his corner. That's his baby. Like he learns all that. He's the one getting the trainings. He's doing all the things. Whereas the other people that just fill in here and there get a little bit. Whereas he's become this. I'm making him the subject matter expert.
Yeah.
And same thing with other things: graphic designer, digital presses. I have people that is their expertise in what they do. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. So let's talk about some real world examples. So the core business of FIP is what?
It's known as a print shop. Excuse me. It's known as a print shop, but I would say that our motto is, if you think it, we can ink it.
I like that.
So I am a big believer of we can do all. That is my motto. But also I'm very careful about, again, like we talked about on the marketing side, trying to niche that down and really promote certain things rather than promote it all. But when I talk to that customer, I build that relationship with them. Now I'm telling them, okay, we can do all. That's more of a tighter knit conversation once you're developing that relationship. Whereas general marketing is, this is what we do. And printing is usually, and when I say printing, I'm usually saying printing materials is what we're known for.
Yeah. Well, and that makes a lot of sense. And then you can always add capabilities onto it as it becomes relevant, or you outsource those things that you can offer, but maybe not be the expert in, but it's still, especially if it's an easy win, right? So a good mix, what would be a good mix for a print shop, just an average print shop who wants to niche down, but still be able to offer other things?
That would say is you just got to find your outsource partners. So niche down at your facility, what you're good at, and then have the capabilities of finding who your partners can be. And then once you get to the point where you're doing a lot of it, that's a decision now where you say, is it working for me to continue to outsource this, or should I now think about bringing this in-house?
Yeah.
And then just figuring out for the reason why I decided to bring the signage in-house and instead of what we were doing was outsourcing it is because on the signage side, you get a lot of people that come to you that need it quick. And it is very difficult when you're relying on an outsourced partner to get it quick.
Yeah.
Whereas now that we do it in-house, I can move things around if I need to move things around. You don't always get that. Not that if you got a good partner, they will be willing to try, but again, they have their customers that they're trying to prioritize too. And they sometimes will have their customers prioritize over you and maybe not, maybe you are the priority because you give them enough business, but I just like having that control of those type of things when you know you have to get them quick out. So.
Okay. So, I think what the big takeaway from this part of the discussion is when you're niching down, get good at what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And then expand from there, either your capabilities or your outsourced partners.
Yep.
Now, there is another really big kind of thing you want to look out for, and that is to get boxed into a specific thing with your customers. So I think you kind of alluded to it earlier where, you bring them in on that one thing and then you expand, you tell them, hey, I've got all this other kind of stuff. So do you have a strategy when it comes to the marketing that, do you have one product line or is it the print, or what is like the marketing focus that you want to bring the most people in, but also be able to leave it open enough so that they know those other things, like you said, if you think we can ink it, that kind of leaves it open to whatever, but hey, we can print anything.
Yep.
So how much of a concern is that with your customer base that you don't get slotted into playing just that print role?
So it's been a lot of, since I took over, I've had to do a lot of educating our customers on that we can do it all. Whereas most of them just think it's in our name, printing. And when people hear printing, usually they just think your regular paper print. So when they do order, we actually created a flyer that says, hey, we do offer all these things, blah, blah, blah. And if you've never ordered this, you get first order on one of these items you've never done, like 10% off or something like that. I can't remember what it is. And we can't hand those out to everybody after they pick up an order of print.
Yeah, that's smart.
And so they get that, and then we verbally tell them too. So gets them in the door, whatever that is, and then we educate them on the other things we offer. So that's how we handle it. Is we've created a separate flyer. And sometimes we'll even throw that if we're shipping it to them, we're not going to see them and talk to them in person, where we just slip it in the box, type of thing. And, do they look at it? I don't know. Some people probably just throw it away right away, but, maybe they do look at it. And so that's kind of how we handle that.
I get those in packages too. Like we order, I can't remember the name of it. It's ready-made, ready-to-cook meals or whatever. It's got everything, but they always have advertising on top for different things, whether it's a different meal package or desserts or whatever it is. So there's always that little thing sitting right on top. And sometimes you look at it and you're like, oh, it's interesting. And then there's sometimes you're like, maybe I do want to order these cookies. And expand. So that's awesome. Last minute advice for the viewers when it comes to niching down. What would you tell them?
I would say for me, I can't speak to necessarily what your thought process and everything is, but I struggled with wanting to just niche down on the marketing side and focus on that. But I also have, realized to hear what people around me are saying, because, I'm passionate about talking about what I want to talk about, but just because I'm passionate about wanting to talk about doesn't mean that's what other people want. It's going to work for them to hear and convert. So I would say don't be so stuck in what you are trying to, what works for you and what you want to do. You just got to be willing to do what is best for your company. And sometimes what's best for your company is the thing that maybe you don't feel most comfortable with, or that you maybe dislike. Like you just got to put yourself out there. Whatever it is that the company needs, you just got to put yourself in that position to do that.
Yeah.
So that's something I've had to. I still learn even today, even daily. I have to remind myself. I was like, I'm doing this for the good of the company.
So, yeah. I think there's. I think we all have those biases and what we like and don't like, and how we like things and don't like things. But we have to remember that that's not. It's not. I was actually having a conversation last night about how often one of my counterparts sends out emails, and he's like, I don't do emails. Like, why would I do that? I said, so all of your stuff is just face to face. Just like, yeah, I don't do emails. I don't do any of that. And I'm like, I wonder how many other people think like that.
Yeah.
And like, I don't like getting emails, but I also know that they're effective.
Yeah.
So I know that if someone sees my name in their email over and over and over again, I just need them to open that one time and go, I got a referral. Who is it that's been sending me endless emails? Maybe this will make it stop.
Yep.
It won't. It'll make it happen more. But it's something I know I don't necessarily like, but I know it works. I know it's effective.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Yep. I agree. And even though you don't like getting those emails, you remember them.
Yeah.
For the most part. I mean, it sticks in your brain. But yeah, I'm the same way. I get annoyed by them, but I also know they're effective.
Yeah.
So
niching down, it can be boring. It can be vanilla. But when you get really, really good at that thing, that's when you start to see the climb.
Yep.
And so if you're starting a business or your business is struggling and you're like, I'm going in all these different directions, or I've got all these great ideas, focus on one. Get really good at that, then expand, whether it's bringing in outside partners, vendors, outsourcing, or bringing it in-house. That's probably the best way to build a solid, sustainable business.
Yep, without a doubt.
I like it. All right.
I think that's a good way to end it. Again, if you like the episode, subscribe, click the notification bell so that you get a reminder every Wednesday when we release these. And until next time, let's grow together.
It's time to step up, yeah. It's grind time, no more letting up. No, running faster, further, no more running up. Yeah, giving my all, no more giving up. Listen to me, step, it's time to step it up. Yeah, it's time to step it up. Step, it's time to step it up. Yeah, it's time to step it up. It's time to step up.